Hey, welcome back to another episode of the MindShare podcast. This show is sponsored by Kits Keep in Touch Systems, your partner in transforming your business with systems that work. Kits is your complete cross-channel marketing suite that will generate more leads and build your repeat and referral machine for you. These are the tools and the expertise that you need to help you scale your success. As well as Rama Real Estate Magazine, Canada's premier monthly magazine for real estate professionals. You can learn more about all of our sponsors by visiting my site, mindshare101.com. And while you're there, be sure to download your free copy of the Ultimate Marketing Bundle so you can build more mindshare to get more market share. Plus, learn more about our one-to-one coaching and keynote speaking. Today's episode is number 313. He's the Chief Operating Officer and partner at Diamond Academy, bringing a wealth of expertise shaped by over 20 years of leadership in loss prevention, operations, and retail management across Canada. Renowned for his strategic acumen and commitment to excellence, he has been instrumental in driving operational efficiencies and fostering a culture of continuous growth. A champion of personal and professional development, he exemplifies a relentless pursuit of improvement, inspiring those around him to strive for greatness. His leadership is marked by a results-driven approach, innovation, and deep-seated belief in transformative power of education and self-awareness to create lasting success. Joining me on this episode of the MindShare podcast is Chief Operating Officer and partner at the Diamond Academy, Mr. Chris Cameron. Chris, welcome to the MindShare podcast.
Thanks for having me, David. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely, man. Now, I gotta get something out of the way right off the top. Fuck Facebook and fuck Instagram. And yes, to everybody whose ears just went, "Whoa, Dave!" Yeah, you heard it first. Okay, it is literally it like, you know. Look, these things normally work, and like, yeah, every once in a while you get these like technological problems and technology, and they delay you. But like no joke. Since 2006, Mark Zuckerberg has been messing shit up. Now, you could argue like it's been great. We've connected in a good way. People are, we got more connectivity, and you can connect with like friends from around the world, and you can stay in touch, and you can see what's going on. And I would argue that now all it's done is it's distracted the shit out of our lives. We are all glued to these phones looking to see what the rest of the world is doing. We are measuring ourselves against the rest of the world. And some of us, when we try to go live on a live stream for a podcast, can't do it. And we can't because Facebook, Meta, whatever the hell they call themselves now, decided, it's just not going to work. I digress. I digress. We're good. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I'm doing awesome.
Well, you're doing better than Facebook and Instagram. That's for sure. Unfortunately, we are not live on either of those platforms. We are live on YouTube. YouTube, you are, big thumbs up, YouTube. Well done. Well done. Yeah. When Facebook and Instagram couldn't get it done, you did. And we are very proud of you. But thank you.
YouTube to the rescue.
Chris, man, we got a wicked title for today's show. In fact, I thought this one was fitting for you. It's got that beast mode to it. Unleash your alter ego, how to crush fear, build confidence, and achieve big goals in 2025.
Yeah.
Now, for those that don't know, Chris has joined us 2 years in a row at the MindShare Mastermind, being one of our guest speakers. And dude, it's one of those where, when they make a sequel of a movie, it's usually not as good.
Sure, yeah.
Somehow you came back a second time and got even better reviews than the first time. And the first time they loved you.
Well, that's great to hear.
Well, yeah, it was awesome, man. It was awesome. But I mean, it was cool because the topic that we discussed was really cool and was something that I'm sure a lot of people don't get into. Yeah. So I'm just going to come out flat out and maybe ask you. We'll create a little bit of maybe setting the stage of like what we're talking about, and then kind of get into the nitty gritty of like how and where it implements and all that stuff. But like right off the hop, like, can you walk us through a personal experience with an alter ego? Like, how did you first realize the power of this concept called alter ego?
Absolutely. Actually, I first learned about it a year ago, almost exactly to the day.
Oh, cool.
I checked.
We timed that properly. Yeah, we knew that.
You did. You really did.
We didn't know that.
Yeah, I take coaching through another company, and we did a virtual 2-day event, and I was encouraged to get out of my regular environment. So I checked myself into the Ritz downtown, and really just was able to focus on learning about the alter ego over a course of 2 days. And it was amazing to learn about. But what we also did during that 2-day session was we crafted and created our first intentional alter ego. And the reason I say first is many of us, whether consciously or subconsciously, probably already have an alter ego or two in our lives. So, for example, David, you step out onto the ice, you're probably a slightly different man when you're out there. There's probably aspects of it that come into business and come into life, but you're probably just a little bit more direct, a little bit more ruthless, a little bit more cutthroat, a little bit more right to it. So whether you've named that alter ego or not, it exists. And I go to sports because it's one of the most prevalent or one of the most well-known areas where there's alter egos. But I created my first alter ego about a year ago, and I went through the whole process of a backstory and you name it. And I actually went and I bought a totem for it. This is where I bought this watch. I bought this watch a year ago, and I went.
Oh, so wait, you got like 365 different alter egos because every day you're wearing a different watch.
only two of my.
We see the Instagram post, bro. We see it. Instagram, yeah. Screw Instagram. I just tried it again. It's still not working. Anyways, keep going.
I saw you type it away, and I thought that might be. I thought it might be. But I'll tell you what I made my alter ego around last year was at this point in time last year.
Yeah.
I was really firmly rooted in my role at Diamond Academy from an operational perspective. That's what I did day in, day out. And my partner and I, Kathleen, we often talk about where do I want to go, what do I want to do, and my real passion is around investments because I love doing something different every day. I love learning about different industries, meeting different people. That's always been my wheelhouse. It's always been my passion. So I created an alter ego based on investments, based on learning how to vet investments, learning how to attract investments, learning how to meet and know the right people. And so I created the backstory, I got the totem, and I set the intentions for the year. And what that allowed me to do is over the course of the year, I would set aside every Friday, I would set aside to be this alter ego. The name of the alter ego is Flex. And I shared it with my sales team and I shared it with a number of my closest friends. And over the course of the year, it was really interesting. I learned more and more every Friday. Every Friday, I set aside some time to either hop on a call with a friend who had an investment opportunity going on or learn about it from friends of mine who were in private equity. But the key is I used this alter ego to get more comfortable moving into an area that I didn't know anything about. Nothing. I knew nothing about it. And that can be scary sometimes, right? Once you know what you're doing and you kind of get comfortable doing it, moving into something completely different can be a little bit scary. That's the easiest way to put it. But the alter ego gives you this different sense of confidence, this different sense of knowing. That's the key, is the different sense of knowing. You can really help you push past a roadblock.
So like if I said this, like if you could define alter ego in one sentence, how would you do it? Like, is it a persona? Is it a character? Is it something else?
Yeah. It's a version of yourself to help you get to your next goal.
Ooh, okay. I like that. Right. Real simple and straight to the point. It's good. So
and the reason I put it that way is I've actually had quite a few people talk to me about how they feel like an alter ego is almost like imposter syndrome. Like, why would I want to pretend to be something?
I was about to say it to you, right? Like some people think that it could be fake. It could be imposter. It could be inauthentic. Like, so yeah. What do you say to people? Like, what's the difference between, I don't know, faking it till you make it and having an alter ego?
Yeah, it all depends on the person. But the story that catches most people's attention, it changes their perspective almost instantly, is I ask the question, for anybody who's into sports, I say, tell me who the Black Mamba is.
I was about to ask you, right? I was about to say that. Yeah.
Right. And, they'll say, well, that was Kobe Bryant.
Of course.
And we'll talk about, how the Black Mamba was brought to be by Kobe, to gain the confidence to step out onto the court with the greats. Right. And the beautiful thing about that story is you can actually watch the evolution of that alter ego. right? Like it evolved from an alter ego that allowed him to really step out on the court and be his most authentic, true, incredible player self. And as that just became who he was, he evolved the Black Mamba into a whole brand, into a whole basketball school, into a whole different thing. So I love that story. And then for anybody who doesn't follow basketball or doesn't follow sports, another beautiful story really quickly is, Sasha Fierce, Beyonce. Right? She used Sasha Fierce for the confidence to get on stage and do the dances and lead. Right. And as she became more confident, it became something different for her. But the key is those are two really well-known stories of alter egos that not necessarily everybody understands or recognizes. Those were alter egos.
Yeah. And it's I want to rewind to Kobe for a quick moment. It's interesting. And those that are involved in the world of sports, whether you follow basketball or you're a big fan of basketball or whatever sport it is. And even if you're not, the likelihood that you've heard of Kobe is probably very high. The likelihood that you're probably, familiar with his mindset is probably very high. And I mean, something just to acknowledge on that, I think it's important is, and this is sidebar to the alter ego, but when you look at a guy like Kobe, you look at a guy like Michael, you look at any of these top performing people, it's amazing how much they motivate so many people today, right now, even when they're not playing the sport anymore, they're not winning anymore, but the messages ring through and really motivate people to do more in whatever aspect of life it is. And what's super interesting, and maybe the learning moment there is, Kobe became Kobe, not just through the alter ego, but through the work ethic of what it took to get there and striving to be the best and saying, you know what, I'm not going to be the best. I will be the best in game, in life, in the real moment if I do everything I possibly can when nobody's looking. If I work as hard as I possibly can, if I try to beat my personal best, if I don't even focus on others, but I focus on me, I will be better. And I mean, Michael has a similar story. Gets to college ball and he's told, like, you're just like everybody else. He goes, well, I'm going to be better than everybody else. I go, well, what's making you better? He says, I'm going to work harder. They said, okay, so prove it. And he did it. And he just elevated his practice time. He elevated the time when nobody was looking, the actions he was taking to get him to where, well, ultimately, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, right? So just a sidebar learning to everybody of, like, even when you feel like it's not working, whatever it is, if you are out there and you are taking those daily actions and you are disciplined to the process, good things do happen. So I want to throw that in there because as we, it's the thought that always crosses the mind. You see all the memes, you see all the quotes out there from Kobe, from Michael, from people like that who really channeled this alter ego and this work ethic to take them to their next level.
Yeah, one of my favorite ones with Michael Jordan is actually around failure.
Right.
And I've shared that with a number of guys who they hate failing, and introducing them to the acronym of FAIL, first attempt in learning, and then sharing with them just that one pager from Michael Jordan. The reason why he's so successful is he's been trusted to take X number of game-winning shots, and he's missed a certain number of times, and he's lost X amount of games, and the reason he's so successful is because he gets back up and he tries over and over again, and he just gets better and better. And it's a beautiful lesson. I love sharing that lesson with my daughters because, you learn that earlier in life, you learn to get back up. Right. But yeah, that's another piece. Yeah. And that's another piece with the alter ego is it can be an aspect of yourself that helps push you past the failure, right? That, it can have the faith.
Well, and I mean, from what I learned from you and about the concept itself, that's very much what it is. It's to get you over that fear. Like here, when when you were with us last year at the Mastermind, and I know a topic that, again, you and I even have sidebars about, but the idea around mindset and the idea around goals, and because we spoke about that, the mindset, the goals. How does the alter ego concept? I think the timing of this is fantastic because we are obviously towards the end of the year. Most people are either prepped and ready to go for next year or into the final stages. Unfortunately, there's going to be a lot of people that aren't doing anything about it, which that's a fantastic thing because those who are, hey, guess what? They're making it that, the ones who are not are making it that much easier for you to win. And that's the driving force that I've got behind me, is to say, like, most people just ain't doing it. So even if you do it and you mess up and you fail, hey, first attempt, what would you say? First attempt in learning.
That's it.
Right? We're moving forward. Something's coming. So how does the alter ego concept actually tie into achieving goals? And why would you say that this concept is so important for anybody aiming to really go big for 2025?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first off, anytime you're learning something new, you go through a process. It's very exciting at first, and then you go down into what is, collectively called the valley of despair. As you start to learn a new skill or learn a new way of doing things or work towards a new goal, you get some really great progress at first. Then you get into the mundane or the challenging aspect. And like the valley of despair, I couldn't tell you who coined that term, but I learned it years ago in retail, and I still see it to this day. The beautiful thing about the alter ego is it can give you that push, that confidence, that knowing that no, this is not only going to get better. I am going to be the expert at this. I am the expert at this. I just need to catch up with it. And it can also give you permission to think outside of your current paradigms. We all have various paradigms, whether they're from growing up, whether they're from the schooling we had, whether they're from, the TV shows we watched, whatever. We all have various paradigms, and we've got loads that we're not even necessarily aware of. Many of them limit us. If you've ever said to yourself, oh gosh, I could never make $1 million, that's a limiting belief. It's a limiting belief. You can. You just need to study lots of different ways that other people did it and figure out how you want to do it. Lots of people think that they can't lift 200 pounds, right? You can get there. But these are the types of things that an alter ego truly can help you do, right? So if you wanted to, let's say it was the first one, say you wanted to make $1 million, well, you might take a look at an alter ego, and you might pull some inspiration from leaders that you identify with, successful business individuals that you either know or you have seen on social media or television that you admire, and you pull the different aspects from them. And you don't pretend to be Gary Vee, but maybe you take Gary's tenacity, and maybe you pull Bill Gates' ingenuity, and maybe you pull Abraham Lincoln's or Barack Obama's statesmanship way of speaking, and you combine those three together, and that's the birth of your alter ego. You develop a name from there. And when you think about those aspects of those individuals, if you were to take on the tenacity and the ingenuity and the presence of those individuals, it's going to give you a different sense of confidence in moving towards whatever you're moving towards. It's going to give you the permission and the confidence to ignore the naysayers. Because anybody who's never been there or who hasn't done it will tell you that you can't do it.
Oh, of course they will. You're always going to have those pessimists around you, in life. And that actually brings me to the question around fear, right? Because a lot of people struggle with fear, and fear in a multitude of different places. And some people it's very isolated, and some people there's a lot of different places that they struggle. I know when we talked about the word fail a moment ago, and we look at the industry that, we're really talking to with the podcast of, people in sales, people that run their own business, people that are out there, really grinding on a daily basis, as opposed to necessarily just going and working 9 to 5, folks that are really out there on a 25 hours a day, kind of 8 days a week type of scale. So fear of making calls, fear of being on video, fear of rejection. Would you, maybe this just piggybacks off what we just talked about, but sort of that idea of, like, again, how does the alter ego push us past those fears? Again, is it just instilling that confidence, I guess, maybe to what we just said?
Yeah. I mean, like, if I think about the fear of rejection, right? That's a very real fear that lots of people have, right? My daughters, they're better at it now, but for the longest time, they were afraid to place their order at a restaurant. They would ask me to do it for them. Right. So, and that's a very simple example, but the same thing holds true to cold calls. The same thing holds true to, connecting with sales leads, whether they're hot, cold, sales qualified, whatever.
Asking somebody on a date.
On a date.
Yeah, no, but seriously, right? It's the fear. Sure. Rejection.
So, an alter ego can absolutely help you with that, because, you take a look at yourself, and the first piece is, just accountability and awareness. Like, it's okay. to take a look at yourself and realize, all right, this is an opportunity for me. I'm afraid to ask people on a date. Why? Okay, I don't feel this. All right, so if it's confidence and courage and resilience, perfect. Okay, so who's got resilience? Well, I don't know the guy's name, but I can tell you I've seen on YouTube. There's a story of a guy who, he wanted to find out how many no's he needed before he got a yes from beautiful women for dates. So he went out and he started asking women, and he found out that he needed 95 no's before he got a yes. That's resilience.
Yeah,
And
for real, eh?
that changes your perspective, right? So I don't know the fella's name, but that aspect of him would be a phenomenal thing to layer in for confidence around asking people on dates. Another one would just take a look at somebody that you admire who has charisma, and that'll give you the confidence to be yourself on the date. And I don't mean like pretend to be Will Smith from Hitch. That's not what I mean. But I mean like think about who he was in that movie, or think about somebody from your life who's just always had that confident swagger. And you don't have to pretend to be them. That's not what I mean. It's just like, but you take that and you picture, all right, how would I be like that? Okay, if I had that kind of swagger, I think my name would be, Mr. Anderson.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe, right? And it's a bit of make-believe, and you're putting on a bit of a show, but you're only putting the show on for yourself. And as you act as your alter ego, you actually start to step into aspects of yourself that were always there, but you were afraid to tap into them.
Right. There's so much around fear.
Huge.
There's so much around fear of what people will think, fear of what people will say. It holds us back from so much. Now, I mean, some people listening to this right now, they're going to feel like they're already disciplined. They're going to think, I already got this. I don't need that. I'm good. But why would somebody who's already successful need an alter ego? Like, is discipline not enough?
Sure. I mean, I can't sit here and tell you that everybody in the world needs an alter ego, but I'll tell you that, you show me somebody who tells me that they have no opportunity, that they've hit the top of their game, and they're not being honest with themselves.
No,
they're not. Because even look at you look at Jeff Bezos, right? The guy's incredibly ripped now. He's by all levels of measure, he's incredibly successful. And, I just read yesterday that he's putting as much as he can into Blue Origin because he believes it's going to be worth more than and bigger than Amazon. So here's a guy who has created I don't know the value of Amazon, whether it's hundreds of billions or in the trillions. I just don't know.
They destroyed retail.
Right. They destroyed retail, but he created something enormous, massive. It changed the way we interact with goods, right?
Yep.
We don't even have to leave the house anymore. And here he is. He could rest on his laurels, fly around in his multiple private jets, hang out with Lauren around the world on his private yacht. But instead, he's doing all of that and
right.
He's pushing the envelope, right? So, when I look at that, I think to myself, look, we all can grow somewhere in our lives. The key is, can we be open and honest with ourselves about where that area is, right? For myself, this past year, aside from investments, it's also been around very open and direct communication around boundaries, right? And, whether it's with family or friends or loved ones, because, the word boundary has a bit of a negative connotation to it, right?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
But really, all it is a way to keep people in your lives when you stop and boil it right down, right? So I've found that, the more open and honest and direct I've been with people over this year, especially around boundaries, it's actually deepened connection all around, right? So it would be easy to sit back and say, I've got great relationships, I'm happy with everything. But, the key to growth is to take a look at yourself and just be honest. Like, yeah, I'm good this, and I'm not great with that, right? So for me this year, my big thing is health, right? It's going to be around, consistent exercise.
So huge though, right? So important. And so many people take it for granted about, just life.
Yeah, 100%.
So as we say that, then I remember you and I having a conversation around your ceiling being your floor, right? I remember we brought that in. So I mean, I'll ask you, and I guess you'll do a good job of explaining this, and it really ties back to what we just said as well, as like when you brought up Jeff Bezos, and the minute you brought him up, I thought about Elon right away as well,
Sure.
right? Like here's people that literally could stop tomorrow and could live another 1,000 years and still not have to work,
Yep.
right? And they keep driving. So, and this comes back to, should you just stop? And so this is where I believe the ceiling to the floor sort of idea is, but I'm going to get you to explain it. Sort of, I guess I'd say, like, how do you make your ceiling your floor,
Sure.
with an alter ego, and maybe give us an example, of the practice of that. Maybe you just did that with Jeff. I guess I probably take the words out of your mouth and answer that myself a little bit.
That's okay. I like, so yeah, you're referencing, MindShare from 2 years ago when I talked about, intentionally every week I looked at a different area of my life.
Right.
So whether it was personal, whether it was romantic, whether it was business, and I selected one thing to do that made me incredibly uncomfortable. And by doing so, every week, an area of my life, the ceiling of my comfort became the floor. So whether it was giving incredibly direct, open feedback to somebody, or whether it was saying no to an investment opportunity, because believe it or not, that can be incredibly uncomfortable. Someone's sitting down and they're showing you their dream and they're pouring their heart out. It can pull on your heartstrings, right? You can really want to say yes, but what's more important is, giving them an honest answer and telling them why. Like, no, I'm not interested in that because A, B, C. That might be incredibly easy for some people, but it's not easy for everybody. And I can tell you right now, it wasn't easy for me. It's easy now, but it's only easy because I put the work in, right? Like I created an alter ego, or where that's a small aspect of it. And when you think about doing that once a week for 52 weeks, you're going to have a bunch of different areas in your life where you've pushed yourself and you stretched yourself. You're going to be a completely different person by the end of the year. Not in a bad way, in a growth and awareness way, right? You're going to learn so much more about yourself. You're going to, you're going to take that old belief of, I could never say that, to, guess what? I said that. I can say that. I could do this now. And it just changes your whole belief and understanding of yourself in this beautiful and incredible way. So, like when I think about, this flex alter ego, it's gotten to the point where, it was very intentional the first quarter of the year, seeking out opportunities, seeking out ways to be flex and interact as flex. And then over the summertime, it became a little bit more organic, where it was just happening on a Friday. Whereas this, the past 8 weeks, I actually haven't intentionally been flex. I've had that many various conversations and opportunities and ideas coming my way, where it's like, wow, okay, I just need to pump the brakes for a minute. This is getting so comfortable, so easy to come my way that maybe I'm going to strategize a little bit differently now. It can be really interesting, right? Because it can help you see that there is so much more opportunity in front of you on your existing plate than you could see before. It's almost like, not having glasses, needing them, and put them on and be like, whoa, I can see so much more clearly.
Right. Okay, so let's get into this then, because you've done a fantastic job setting the stage of the why, right? Why should we have that alter ego? Why should we get into that? And I think let's take a few minutes now to talk about, how to create it, how to leverage it. You mentioned about the totem earlier. I understand where that comes from. Sure. I want to make sure everybody here tuned in today understands that, and that everybody can really walk away and go, okay, yeah, I'm in. Like I'm going to try this. And even if you don't, and I mean, when I say you, I don't mean you, Chris. I mean you listening right now. Even if you don't take that and implement publicly, where you share this with people, but you do try it on your own to see, is this something that I can? And actually, in saying that, I'd probably even say, like, this is almost something you don't need to announce to the world. It's just something you do for you.
That's right.
It draws that person or that thought or that action out of you that you really want. So I guess the first question there, Chris, in terms of like action steps for this, where do we even start? What is
Sure.
that first step in creating that alter ego beyond understanding it, beyond having the desire for it? Should we focus on qualities? Should we focus on traits? Should we focus on something else? Where do we start?
So honestly, the very first place I would suggest starting is truly, honestly, and authentically defining what success means to you.
Ooh,
I,
okay. Like
I
write
think
that down, like pull out a
write
pen and
that
just say,
down,
hey, what success equals?
journal on it, right? Don't just write something down. Write for 10, 15 minutes. Once you hit minute 11, stuff is just going to start pouring out of you. And
Right.
that's the truth. Like, that's what's really coming out. And the reason I say define success for yourself is it can be really easy to let society define what success means. It can be, making X amount of money a year and this, that, the other.
Because
Whereas,
that's exactly what everybody thinks about right away. Money.
sure. But I'll tell you right now, like to me, success is being able to drop my kids off and pick them up from school every day. Right. I've got quite a few employees whose definition of success is being able to attend every single soccer game without having to ask for a day off, just being able to weave it into their schedule because they work from home and they know that we trust them to do what they need to do either before or after or whenever, right? With no pressure. And I love that they've got that definition of success for them, right? Because the reality is we're all living our own life. We're all on our own journey, and it's okay to define for yourself what success is. It doesn't have to be, owning Amazon or starting the next SpaceX or whatever it may be. It can be what it is for you.
That's a relief.
and then the key is, once you define what success is, take a look at, all right, well, what's missing for me, right? Like, what do I want to do next? And, if what you want to do next is it involves public speaking, I'm just going to choose public speaking because it's an easy one for me to pull for. So if you want to, if whatever your goal is involves speaking more publicly, whether it's in front of large crowds or in front of, more senior leaders than you're used to, or more affluent people than you're used to, and you're just not comfortable doing it just yet, perfect. Your first alter ego could be in and around public speaking and presence. And great. There's a couple of phenomenal examples, right? So it's hard to argue that Barack Obama doesn't have presence because he has incredible presence. No matter what side of the fence you're on, that man can speak, and he is eloquent, and he's funny, and he's got amazing flow. He would be a phenomenal one just those couple of traits I mentioned. You're not going to get up there and pretend to be Barack Obama,
right?
But you're going to take on that air of eloquence, that air of confidence, that comfort in being there, comfort in being in front of everybody, right? And, you might pick one or two other speakers, right? So, whether it's someone who just speaks directly or whether it's somebody who, you just pick anybody, right? So whether it's Trump or whether it's Oprah, Oprah hosted a television show for, I don't even know how long, decades, right? She can woo a crowd. She can control an audience. She can really command respect and attention. And so, you pick these individuals and you weave some of their traits that you really love, right? And that's where you start. That's how you start. And, from there, you just start to craft what that might look like as you. So what does Chris look like with the eloquence of Barack,
right,
and the confidence and presence of Oprah? Right. And let's just say that, all right, well, I'm going to name that alter ego Oscar. And I'm saying Oscar because I have a little fake Oscar on my desk that I got as a gift. And, right. So I named my alter ego.
I was about to say, like, is it important to give our alter ego name?
Yes,
Like a Black Mamba, Oscar, Sasha Fierce, or like, I guess
100%.
how does having that name change the way we see ourselves?
Yeah. So it's, first off, you're naming them because it helps eliminate that imposter syndrome piece, right? And you can. There's not necessarily any rules around how you name them, but I can tell you right now. For me, I named my investment in business alter ego Flex for a couple of reasons. First, the act of flexing.
Everybody's dying to find that one out, right?
Well, I mean, the act of flexing, first and foremost, physically is one of power and strength.
Yep.
Right. But then the ability to flex and flex between things was another reason I chose flex, because flexing can be like ease and flow. And that was really important to me, to be able to just not be zeroed in on real estate or zeroed in on tech or zeroed in on stocks and options and all that kind of stuff. I wanted to be able to flex between various industries and markets and learn as much as I can and diversify. And that was just what felt comfortable for me, or not comfortable. That's what felt right for me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like to use the word comfortable too much, because I don't like to be comfortable.
Fair. That's fair. I like that. Good little point there.
And so that's, in a nutshell, that's how you go through the naming process. But you definitely want to name your alter ego.
Okay.
You want to name them, because that's part of the process. It becomes easier to shift into being them if they have a name. You don't have to have a totem, but I'll tell you a little bit about the totem. Like, it makes.
I'm going to get to that in 1 second. 1 second, because I know where you're going with that. So I just, we talked about finding somebody. Forgive me, and I'm making sure that it's real clear action steps for everybody right now. We just talked to, okay, how do we get into it? So where do we start? You said write down a list of these different traits that you either have or you want to possess. Just start writing. Put pen to paper.
That's right.
From there, we talked about, you started actually with the examples of some of the people that are out there, so what is it about you that you're looking to find? Then who could you find that's there? We talked about the name, and now we think again from the, and I'm going to go backwards for 1 second around the character traits, like the traits of what you're looking for.
Yeah.
This is about digging deeper. And I know, like, when we talk about how to figure that out, looking at people we admire, do they have to be real people? Could they be people we've seen in a movie?
100%.
Right? Like, you think about the Batman, the Superman. I know at the Mastermind, I don't know if I brought it up or somebody else brought it up, and I was like, yeah, Harvey Specter from Suits.
100%.
I think somebody actually yelled out The Godfather, which was kind of scary. Everybody kind of backed up a little bit on that one. But do you try to find people, and like, how do you dig deep enough to go, who is it? I guess maybe is it one, like, figure out what those traits are that you've listed on your paper, then two, figure out who actually possesses those?
Yes to both of those. And
okay,
listen to yourself and be honest with yourself. And the reason I say that is The Godfather. The first thing that comes up for me when I hear The Godfather is, all right, when he speaks, people listen.
Ooh, okay.
That's powerful.
See, I thought about like a dead horse's head in somebody's head.
Right. But that's a beautiful example of why it's important to listen to yourself and be honest with yourself, because we all see things differently, and we all see these characters and these real life people differently. So, to answer your question, they don't have to be real at all.
Okay.
Right? You could pick a character from a book you read. You could pick a character from a movie or a TV show, right? Like, you could make an alter ego around being a better father, around being a more present husband. I'm picking those because we're guys.
Yeah.
Totally. But same thing, like you could be, you could pick for being a better parent or a better spouse, or a more present spouse, or you could make an alter ego for being an incredible brother, right? Like, the sky's the limit. The key is, pick what's going to move the needle the most for you.
Okay, I got you. So, like, what do you say to people who feel embarrassed or silly about the concept? Like, how do they get over that mental block of like, okay, I'm going to be Superman, or I'm going to be the Godfather, or like seriously speaking? And I know I'm poking fun at it, but it's a very serious question.
Yeah, listen. If it worked for Beyonce, it worked for Kobe Bryant, and if it works for Eminem, I don't understand why it can't work for you. I don't.
Fair enough. Like, bang on, man. You just listed out three, obviously very, very big popular names worldwide. And definitely Eminem, I didn't even cross my mind with that one.
Right?
But again, you're bang on, man. Right. And I mean, listen, if we sat here, and I'm sure you have a whole like list of these people, if we sat here, and I'm going to challenge everybody tuned in right now to start thinking about those people, not just the Eminem and the Beyonce and the any of these people. Like, I'm talking, like, go beyond anybody we've listed off and start thinking to yourself, who else might you be familiar with? And you could say every single Marvel character or superhero, whatever, fine. Start to look at some real people, start to look at some celebrities, start to look at, just that, and start to really realize how many more people. Because one thing that was just a big mind blow to me was when you brought it up, how many people in the room actually started talking about the fact that they have one?
Yeah.
We know our buddy Ryan, our buddy the mentalist, who was on the show. He was actually on the show not too long ago as well, but he was at the mastermind. He actually admitted to having an alter ego as well, right? And channeling that. And it's like you start to look at that and go, wow, more people than you think actually have that alter ego. Like The Rock.
Yep.
Right? He's not actually like his mom didn't call him The Rock.
Nope.
Right? So here, I've got my alter ego. I totally cut you off when you started going down this road a moment ago, but like now what? How do I activate that alter ego when I'm feeling anxious, I'm feeling stuck, I'm feeling scared? There's that fear that whatever it is, specific routine, a mantra, a trigger. How do I turn it on?
Yeah. And so I'll talk a little bit about that. And just as a reminder, an alter ego is much like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it's going to become, the more familiar it's going to become. And the less you use it, the more uncomfortable it becomes. So, shifting into, you want to be intentional about it. You want to be intentional about it as often as you can. So, like if it is around, something like, if it is around being a more present parent, well, you know what? If you pick your kids up at 3:30, book yourself at 3 p.m., just to spend some time connecting into your alter ego. And at first that can look like reading over their traits, picturing the individuals that inspire it. Also, I can tell you, the quick story for Flex is, I'm a watch guy. I love watches. And
like literally 365 different versions of watch, everybody. It's unbelievable. You figure one could tell the time, but he needs 365 of them. It doesn't make sense. Sorry, go ahead, Chris. Yeah.
I've got a lot. I have too many.
He's like, Dave, it's way more than 365, man.
No, it's like 20. It's like 21, but still, that's a lot. So because I love watches, for me, I use it as an opportunity. All right, well, what kind of watch does Flex wear? Well, to me, Flex wore, a classic statement piece that has presence. And a lot of people think Rolex, that's great. I think Rolexes are really nice. They're not necessarily for me right now anyhow. So I ended up going to Breitling, and I went there because I've tried this watch on 5 different times in 5 different countries. And I thought to myself, you know what, Flex would just go in and buy it. And that's what I did. I left the Ritz. I took an Uber up to Breitling on Bloor Street. I walked in. They had one Super Ocean Heritage 46 left. And at the time, it was the most amount of money that I'd ever spent on a watch. And I just handed over the card and I bought it. And for the first 4 months of owning it, I only wore it when I was Flex. That was it. So on a Friday, after I was done taking the kids to school and done my morning routine of sauna and whatever, I would sit down, I'd put the watch on. That was my totem. And for me, as soon as I clicked it, that was it. It was business time. It was time to have these calls. It was time to be open, time to be honest, time to learn. The other thing I did, you don't have to go buy something. You can pick something you have. You want it to be something that really resonates with your character. The other thing I did, and it cost me nothing, for the first 8 months, I would listen to Taking Care of Business before I did anything as Flex. And that here I am giggling about it, but I'm not going to lie. That 3.5 minutes would amp me up in just the right way right before I was going to be Flex.
Dude, I the Ramble On by Led Zeppelin is my jam. I'm about to take a stage. If you see me with earbuds in my ear and I'm bobbing my head, I'm jamming a Ramble On, right? Because I'm about to take that stage and ramble on.
And I think that's a phenomenal example. Phenomenal example. Because even if you don't have a name for that alter ego, it is a version of you that's up there.
Oh yeah, for sure. You're turning on, right?
Yeah.
Here we had somebody at the mastermind. She brought up. She goes, and I think she actually did this. She recognized it after your talk, and then it sort of amplified for her that she does it, but it was putting on lipstick.
Sure.
Right? Like she talked about it, like, and again, for females, putting on lipstick, it's just okay. Once that lipstick is on, it's like the watch, it's like the song, it could be the most minute little thing, but for you, like to you, Chris, was putting the watch on, it was clicking that.
That's right.
Right? That boom, that's it, we're on. Right?
That's it. We're on. Yeah. And so, whether it's a totem or whether it's a song or whether it's even an act, right? So, say it was an alter ego around fitness, maybe the act is putting on the gym attire. I'm not sure, right?
Yep.
It can be anything, but the key is it's got to mean something to you.
Totally. So you got to find something. And again, it's like for anybody that's going, well, what is it? What is it? It's literally anything.
Yeah.
From the pair of shoes you put on to a pair of clothes you put on to a watch, a piece of jewelry, a hat, lipstick.
Yeah.
Maybe it's nothing you put on. Maybe it's something you hold in your hand. Maybe it's something that you look at.
Yeah.
It's a song. I mean, it's a series of words that you say that trigger what's going on. I mean, if we want to simplify, just further illustrate this, I'd say for Superman, it wasn't just the cape. It was he walked into the phone booth kind of thing, right? Took off the glasses. There's those little actions. And I know there's some people still going like, you guys are off your rocker. But I'm going to challenge you all to start to think about so many of the successful people out there and dig just a little bit deeper and figure out, who are they?
Yeah.
What really drives them? What's really gotten them to be there? And
the key is, the other piece is we all wear different hats in our lives every day.
Every day.
First thing this morning, my dad hat was on. Once I dropped the kids off at school, my business hat was on.
Yep.
Once I hopped on here, my public speaking and presence hat was on, right? When I hop off, my dad hat's going to go back on.
Right.
And, I'm Chris throughout all of it. But the reality is I interact slightly differently in all of those scenarios. And that's happened naturally. That's evolved naturally, right? So there's absolutely nothing wrong with being intentional about it in an area, especially an area you want to grow into or get better at.
Okay. Now, how do I know if my alter ego is actually working? How should I expect instant results? Is this something I got to practice over time?
Yeah. So you got to practice. You got to practice it, get more comfortable with it, and you'll feel it. You'll just all of a sudden one day you'll be like, "Whoa, I just shifted right into this," and then all of a sudden it'll be like, "Wow, it just happened. I just did this automatically, naturally." And you will eventually outgrow your alter ego. Like I've outgrown Flex. I don't intentionally connect into him anymore. I just do the stuff I wanted to be able to do as him.
And do you do it more frequently now? Like not more frequently on the Friday or on the week, like the one day of the week, but multiple days of the week now?
Yeah, I don't even have to be wearing this watch.
Okay.
I don't even have to be.
Interesting.
I haven't listened to Taking Care of Business in about 4 months.
Okay.
It just naturally became more comfortable, right? Like I just grew into it.
So would you say that you lost it?
No, not at all.
Or it's more even embodied it even more?
Yeah, pretend Flex and Chris were two different personas. They merged, right? The aspects of Flex that I wanted to embody on a regular basis are part of me now.
Interesting.
And I can repurpose Flex if I want. I can redefine him if I want, or I can thank him for helping me get here and see you when I need you. Right. There's no amount of time that these alter egos stick around for. Right. Like that's up to you. And it's also how much you believe and how far you take it. Right. Again, you define what success looks like to you. Right. To me, with the various things I have going on now, like I checked myself into a hotel again last week to review 2024 and plan for 2025. And as I was reviewing 2024, and I do this on a monthly basis anyhow, but as I was reviewing 2024, I was like, wow, like I hit every single goal I set for Flex and then some.
Nice.
And then some.
Nice, man.
And that's a hell of a great feeling. It's a hell of a great awareness to have. Any of us can do it. Like if I can do it, 5 years ago, just a guy working in the stores.
See, we're talking with Chris Cameron about unleashing your alter ego, how to crush fear, build confidence, and achieve big goals in 2025. Um, we're talking here, Chris, right now, and saying, flex for you has just become part of you. It's become part of who you are now. And I was going to ask you, like, what happens if I feel that my alter ego has stopped working, or how do I know if I need to evolve it or change it, like create a new one? Like the first thing that's going through my mind right now is that. And then as you were saying, I'm thinking, in the same breath, I'm going, do you need a new one now then? Like, do you feel like it's Flex has run his course or has become so much part of you that you gotta find who's Flex's brother or sister or, whatever.
Sure.
Like, is that a need, or how? Okay, let me start with, forgive me. How do I know if it's still working? What happens if I feel if it stops working? Do I change it? Do I adapt? What do I do?
This is where regular self-reflection and just being honest with yourself is huge. It's key. It's key. So, if you don't review your month, start reviewing your month and just be honest with yourself. You don't have to share it with anybody, but if you can't be honest with yourself, that's probably the first alter ego you want to make, is one that gets you really comfortable being honest with yourself. That's when you're really going to start to make huge, that if that's a rock for you, and there's nothing wrong with it being rock for you, but if it's a rock for you to be open and honest with yourself, that will make such a massive difference in your life, in every aspect of your life, if you create an alter ego around that. And so, that's what I would say is, you'll know it's working if you're reviewing your month and you're being open and honest with yourself. And, you'll have the answer to your question right there of what you might need to change. Maybe you're not embodying it. Maybe, maybe you set the bar too high at first, and maybe you start a little bit lower. There's nothing wrong with that, right? The Mount Everest is climbed in stages, step by step, right? You don't just start at the top. It doesn't count. It doesn't work that way, right? Yeah.
Just explaining that to somebody else the other day, right? Like when it comes to goals, and I mean, that's, again, as we're talking about this goals and crushing fear and building confidence, that's the other thing that, everybody really obviously always needs to remember when it comes to the goals and the reviews and the business plans. Using Everest exactly as that example, and I've used that many times. Nobody climbs Everest in a day. It's not possible to climb Everest in a day, right? So everybody understands that there's certain bogeys you're going to hit throughout the climb, and how far you're going to be able to get, and how many days it's going to take, and where you're going to stop, and where you're going to realize, okay, it's going to go further. But understanding the same thing with our goals, with our year, right? And you said, you review monthly, as do I. Obviously there's an annual review, there's a monthly review, there's actually a day-by-day review for me, right? And that's the way I personally continue to operate, because I can look and say, okay, I've got these big grandiose plans of things that I'm going to accomplish tomorrow. So I set that today for tomorrow. Tomorrow you get up, you start operating, you start moving through your day. Things hopefully go exactly as planned. They don't always go as planned. Recognizing that when you do have commitments and you've actually scheduled with other people, do everything you possibly can to make sure you stick to that plan. When they're just with yourself, again, I'm gonna challenge people, do the same. Try to stick to the same plan that you created from the top. But there's going to be things that come up, and part of the review on a hour by hour, day by day basis, to be able to find those things a lot quicker than waiting until the end of the year or the end of the week or the end of the month, which again, I do all those different check-ins, but I've taken it right down to that hour by hour and that day by day to know what needs to be adjusted quickly. And it just allows us to pivot better. It allows us to stay in a better flow, be more efficient with our time, and really hit what we want to hit. But it's recognizing again that I can't climb Everest in a day. I've got to do it in stages. And so what stage, like, did I accomplish the stage I set out to accomplish today? And if I did, great, we can move to the next stage tomorrow. And eventually we should get to where we want to go. And again, all of this that we talked about today is very much about helping us really get there.
And, the other beautiful part about that process, Dave, is you get to celebrate your wins, which is something that we don't do as often as we could and should.
Right. That's right.
Like come the end of the week or end of the month, taking a look at, if it's fitness and, you've increased your bench by 10 pounds, that's not a small thing. No. That's a big deal. That's amazing. That's cause for celebration. And, when you celebrate and when you congratulate yourself for something like that, you're giving yourself that positive reinforcement, which is just going to fuel your progress towards it, right?
Oh,
Versus,
absolutely.
if you don't do any review and you just, kind of go along, you might not really necessarily realize how far you've come.
I'll tell you, man, you bring that up. I've been, from the day that I started going to the gym, I've been tracking the exercise, the amount of reps, the amount of sets, and then the amount of weight.
Yeah.
And I know, looking back from where I was to where I am, I would watch guys sit there benching a certain amount and be like, and I couldn't do it, right? Like I'm benching what I'm benching and going, oh man, this is heavy. And I'm watching other guys. I'm like, how do you do that? And I know I'm not where I was, right?
Sure.
Am I, benching as heavy as the biggest guy in the gym right now? Absolutely not. But I'm not measuring myself against that guy. I'm measuring myself against me. And if I look at the growth that I've achieved along the way, I'm killing it, man. And I am super pumped about the growth, and every time, you can add a 5-pound weight to either side of that chest press, or whatever it is on your leg press, or whatever you're doing. And those 5, 10, 15-pound increments, 25-pound increments go up 45 pounds, whatever it is. That feels good. And that feels good for, again, just talking about me right now, that feels good for me.
Yep.
And I would then say that to everybody, make that feel good for you. You're measuring against you. So to what you said, I echo that 100%, man.
Yeah, and you touched on that. You touched on a beautiful point there. I actually shared it in a watch chat I have today. I shared a picture of a watch I recently bought.
A watch chat. He's got an actual chat for the watches. Like his watch probably does. Never mind. Go ahead.
Anyhow, the guy responded, in a nice way, complimenting the watch, but made a comment about not having anything like that.
Right.
And but being happy with what they have.
Yep.
And I responded and I said, I'm so glad that you're happy with what you have, because Seneca said, comparison is the thief of joy.
Yes.
And it is, right? The only person you brought it up, the only person you want to compare yourself to is yourself of yesterday. Right?
Which is one of the hardest things for anybody to do. And that's where I come right back to where I started today's episode. Fuck you, Facebook, and fuck you, Instagram, because you have messed with people's minds. And I know, for anybody who's like, oh, Dave, that was really brash, I know you're nodding your head in agreement with me right now, because there's so much comparison that goes on from people to people, person to person, from thyself to others, that is completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
And that is where people go into a very dark place.
Yeah.
So again, as we're talking about unleashing your alter ego and how to crush fear and how to build confidence, how to achieve big goals in 2025, everybody tuned in. This is, the big thing here is make sure that you actually have your goals set for 2025. Know what it is that you want to accomplish in 2025. Create daily actions that you are going to take each day in 2025. And then, go ahead and challenge yourself to build yourself an alter ego. Challenge yourself to channel something else, another spirit, another being, another thought process that can help you get to where it is you want to go. Because the more focused you are on you, the less focused you're going to be on others. And all in all, the happier you're going to be about it.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, Chris, if our listeners today only remember like one thing from this entire episode, beyond your watches, what action, jokes aside, I love the watches. What action would you challenge people to take today to start creating that alter ego in 2025?
Well, if I have to pick one thing, it's sitting down and being really open and honest with themselves around what they want and what their opportunity is.
Okay.
Because if you can't do that, you're not going to make much headway with any of this.
So that might, again, in like real simple terms, that could just be as simple as what we almost just said about actually label out your goals. Like sit down and write those things down.
Yep. What do you want? What do you want? Not what does your boss tell you want, or what does society tell you that you want? What do you want? Like, do you know? And if you don't, cool. Next step is figure it out, and then start all this.
How do I figure it out? I'm going to tell you very simple, and not that those of you tuned in on audio can hear me, but I am holding a blue pen in my hand, and I don't care what color the pen is, but it's amazing how powerful the pen can be. Huge. I know for myself, when I write anything on paper, I am taking my subconscious and bringing it to the conscious, to the forefront. I am putting it on paper and bringing it to life. And I'm even writing it in a way that for myself, I'm looking at it in a sense of empowerment, whether it's sharing my own little thoughts or whatnot. Um, I'm also trying to channel a place of strength, and confidence. And so it's just the way we write the things and the things that we say, they start to also really seep into the subconscious, which it changes everything. So, to everybody, start by taking a pen, putting it to paper, figuring out what it is you want. Then going from there and really determining who else is out there that you might be able to in some way, shape, or form, spiritually, physically embody that and channel that into yourself so that you can then leverage that to take you and again help you get to where it is that you want to go.
Yeah.
Chris, we've this has been a fantastic episode, man. I think this has been and again, all jokes aside, apology for the technical difficulties off the top. I'm not sure what is going on with those platforms today, but we've learned a ton. And you have helped us understand for even yourself how it is that you get you to your next level. Now you've gone through your entire day, everything's gone well. You've just, you're done your day. You're done between all the hats that you wear. How do you know that it's been a successful day for you?
It's the way I feel. It's the way I feel, right? So, I take a look at what I've done, and if there's opportunities with the way I've interacted with anybody, if I can fix that, that evening, I'll fix it. If not, I just am honest with myself, and I'll take a look at it the next day. And if it's been an amazing day, I'll celebrate it. So whether I celebrate it with, someone I know or my coaches or my kids, I celebrate it.
Cool. Once again, nobody has used the word money. We ask that question at the end of every show. And nobody ever talks about money.
Yeah.
It's amazing, eh? And it's funny because when you talk about goals and you say, what does success look like? People naturally kind of go, how much money they want to make.
Yeah.
Yet when you pose that question to people usually take that little pause like you did to really actually think about it. And even like totally off the cut, because you don't know what questions are coming on this show.
No.
Money never pops out of people's mouths. Which is
Nope.
To me, it's a breath of fresh air every single time you hear it. And you hear the type of things, family and helping others and things of that nature. But anyhow, Mr. Cameron, any final words of wisdom you want to give everybody to help everybody get out there, build more mind share, to get more market share, and of course, again, crush that fear, build that confidence, and achieve those goals in 2025?
I would say if you had any interest whatsoever to check out Todd Herman's book, The Alter Ego Effect, and to give it a shot, to really give it a shot. When you think about the sheer number of incredibly famous and successful and happy individuals who have made use of this and had great benefits, just, if you're telling yourself it's not for me or I don't need it, ask yourself why and give it a try.
We went deep today, man. Chris, thank you. This has been an awesome episode. If people wanted to connect with you, where can they find you?
They can find me on Instagram. I think my name is the Chris Cameron. Or my email, chris.cameron@diamondacademy.ca.
Awesome. I encourage you all, if you do have questions, read the book, connect with Chris, learn more about this. Again, what we're trying to do right now is empower everybody to absolutely crush 2025. So, Chris, once again, a massive thank you for joining us today, for bringing Flex with you today. Seriously, all jokes aside, it's been an awesome show. I had no doubt. Can't thank you enough for making the time.
Thanks for having me. It was a blast.
Absolutely, buddy. We'll do it again.
Thanks, man.
You're either listening to this on one of your favorite podcast platforms, or maybe you went to my website, MindShare101.com. While you're there, be sure to download your free copy of our Ultimate Marketing Bundle, so that you can learn how to build more mindshare to get more market share, as well as check out our one-to-one coaching. We've got a very exciting announcement coming up shortly about some new opportunities that we've got within the MindShare 101 world. All of it in order to help you get better in what you're doing. So stay tuned on that. We will release some more information information very, very shortly. We've also got group training. If you're looking for a keynote speaker, you look for some training for your group, get in touch. Whatever you need, whatever inquiries you have, just get in touch with us today. Again, connect with us at mindshare101.com. And of course, please do not forget to leave a review of this podcast at www.ratethispodcast.com/mindshare101. A real simple way to get you from iTunes, Spotify, or any of the other platforms. Of course, if you're on iTunes on a regular basis, just go right there. 5 stars, nice comments. We would be super grateful. Seriously, thank you in advance for that. And if we haven't, connect with me on Facebook. Facebook today, and on TikTok at MindShare 101, and on Instagram at David Greenspan 101. All jokes aside, I look forward to connecting with you. Send me a DM. Let's stay in touch. Let's if you do have questions about anything, let me know. If you know somebody that wants to be a guest, you want to be a guest of a topic that you want to hear on the show, keep us posted on that. I got to take a moment here to say thank you. A big thank you to Kits Keep in Touch Systems, as well as REM Magazine for being our sponsors. This has been another episode of the MindShare podcast. Thank you for tuning in.